Hare Krishna. So we'll chant the Jai Radha Madhava prayers. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayo Radha Madhava. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Krishna Balaram, Jayo Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jayo Krishna Balaram. Jayo Gauranitai, Jayo Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jayo Gauranitai. Jayo Srinivas Govinda, Jayo Srinivas Govinda, Jayo Srinivas Govinda, Jayo Srinivas Govinda. Jayo Prahlad Narsimha, Jayo Prahlad Narsimha, Jayo Prahlad Narsimha, Jayo Prahlad Narsimha. Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga ki, Shri Srinivas Govinda ki, Shri Prahlad Narsimha Dev ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. So today we'll be discussing from third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 42 and 43. So before we start, please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So they will display the verse on the screen. You can do an escape. It will come out of full screen. Just escape. Okay, you can change that. Yeah. All right, thank you. So please repeat after me. Indriyani paranyahur. Indriyani paranyahur. Indriyebhya param manaha. Indriyebhya param manaha. Manasastu parabuddhir. Manasastu parabuddhi. Yo buddhe paratastu saha. Yo buddhe paratastu saha. Indriyani paranyahur. Indriyebhya param manaha. Manasastu parabuddhir. Yo buddhe paratastu saha. So we'll read the synonyms and then translation purport. So please repeat the synonyms after me. Indriyani, senses. Parani, superior. Ahuhu, is said. Indriyebhyaha, more than the senses. Param, superior. Manaha, the mind. Manasaha, more than the mind. Tu, also. Para, superior. buddhihi, intelligence, yaha, one which, buddhe, more than the intelligence, parataha, superior, tu, but, saha, he. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. So please repeat the translation. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Read the purport. The senses are different outlets for the activities of lust. Lust is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses. Therefore, the senses are superior to the body as a whole. These outlets are not in use when there is superior consciousness or Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the bodily functions, as described here, ultimately end in the Supreme Soul. Bodily action means the functions of the senses, and the stopping the senses means stopping all bodily actions. But since the mind is active, then even though the body may be silent and at rest, the mind will act as it does during dreaming. But above the mind, there is the determination of the intelligence. And above the intelligence is the soul proper. If therefore the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, naturally all other subordinates, namely the intelligence, mind, and the senses, will be automatically engaged. In the Katha Upanishad, there is a passage in which it is said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to the senses, and mind is superior to the sense objects. If therefore the mind is directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there is no chance of the senses becoming engaged in other ways. This mental attitude has already been explained. If the mind is engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no chance of its being engaged in the lower propensities. In the Katha Upanishad, the soul has been described as Mahan, the great. Therefore, the soul is above all, namely the sense objects, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. Therefore, directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul is the solution of the whole problem. With intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Krishna consciousness. That solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of senses. One has to strengthen the mind by use of intelligence. If by intelligence one engages one's mind in Krishna consciousness by complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger. And even though the senses are very strong, like serpents, they will be no more effective than serpents with broken fangs. But even though the soul is the master of intelligence and mind, and the senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by the association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to agitated mind. So that ends the purports of text 42. So text 43 is the last verse in this chapter, and it's like a continuation. So I will quickly read this also. It's a small purport, and then we'll discuss. So text 43. Evam buddhe param buddhva samstapyatmanam atmana jahi satrum mahabaho kama rupam durasadam. Translation. Thus knowing oneself to be transcendental to material mind, material senses, mind and intelligence, one should control the lower self by the higher self and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. Purport. This third chapter of Bhagavad Gita is conclusively directive to Krishna consciousness by knowing oneself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without considering impersonal wideness as the ultimate end, in the material existence of life, one is certainly influenced by propensities for lust and desire for dominating the resources of material nature. Desire for overlording and sense gratification are the greatest enemies of the conditioned soul. But by the strength of Krishna consciousness, one can control the material senses, the mind, and the intelligence. One may not give up work and prescribed duties all of a sudden, but by gradually developing Krishna consciousness, one can be situated in a transcendental position without being influenced by the material senses and the mind by steady intelligence directed towards one's pure identity. This is the sum total of this chapter. In the immature stage of material existence, philosophical speculations and artificial attempts to control the senses by so called practice of yogic postures can never help a man toward spiritual life. He must be trained in Krishna consciousness by higher intelligence. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the third chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of Karma Yoga or discharge of one's prescribed duty in Krishna consciousness. So, these are the last two verses of this chapter. The third chapter is Karma Yoga. And here what's happening is Lord Krishna is answering a very specific question that Arjuna asks in text 36. So before we go there, we'll offer our prayers to the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitanyena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, in this third chapter in Karma Yoga, Krishna is emphasizing the fact that Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, as a warrior, he has to do his duty. So, towards this text 35 and 34, so Krishna is saying that you better do your duty even though it might be faulty, instead of doing some other person's duty. Right? So text 35, Krishna says, it is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though they may be faulty, than another's duties. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. So Krishna is emphasizing, you do your duty and don't take up another's duty. Why is he saying don't take up another's duty and all that? Because Arjuna, he proposed, I will give up this battlefield, I will go and I will beg, I will take up the renounced order of life, those kind of things. But actually those are not activities for a Kshatriya. The renounced life and begging and all these things, actually it is allowed for the brahmacharis or the sannyasis who have taken up a complete path of self-realization. And why are they allowed to beg? It is not that they are in short of need of food and they have to beg on the streets, right? They can actually go to the forest, the renounced people, the sannyasis, and they are completely renounced. They have given up all this material world. They can live very comfortably by eating just fruits and leaves and drink water from the river. But why are they allowed to beg? It is so that the householders get an opportunity to serve these great saintly people. And when they're serving them, the saintly people, they will take the opportunity to educate them on spiritual knowledge, on the purpose of life. Because on our day-to-day materialistic activities, we are very much carried away. We get carried away by, all the social pressure and the society around us. We get carried away. We lose the purpose of life. We see somebody is working towards something, we start thinking, we get influenced by so many things happening around us. So this begging, this profession, is actually not even a profession, but it is allowed only for the renounced people of life. But Arjuna was saying, I will give up the battlefield and I will beg and all that. So that is not the way. It is not for sustaining oneself, unfortunately. Right? So that is why Krishna is saying that. Now Arjuna asked a very interesting question after all this, after listening about doing your duty and everything. Suddenly it struck to him that a lot of people commit these sinful activities, even though as if they don't even want to do. It's a very common thing, isn't it? When we see the news, we see very horrifying things happening in this world around us. This murder case in Idaho is a very big thing. Every news channel, every day there is something about the news about this person who very horribly killed 4 students. Right? So why do this sinful activity? Why are people doing these sinful activities? Arjuna is actually asking the exact same question to Krishna. He's saying, "Oh, descendant of Vrishni," he's addressing Krishna, "by what is one impelled to sinful activities? Even unwillingly, as if engaged by force." Prabhupada gives an example of a lot of the seasoned criminals. They are caught, they're put in prison, they'll come out, and what do? They again do criminal activity. So they know, it's not that they don't know. If they do crime, they will be arrested. Right? Recently, some of the incidents that happened, many of them were, there was a person who was actually released from prison after a very long term. He came out and the next day, immediately he killed few people. Again, they arrested him. Right? So he has already went through a prison term. It was not at all a pleasing experience. But then he knows that it is not the right thing to do. Again, they're committing sin. Why is it? So Arjuna is asking very, a very pertaining question even today. And every time, towards any time, it is always applicable, this question. It's always a challenging question. Why are people doing these wrong things, right? So Krishna then answers, and the next set of verses, even what we are going to discuss today, Krishna is narrowing down to one root thing that causes all these things. He says, "It is lust only, Arjuna." In the next verse, Lord Krishna is answering. The blessed Lord said, "It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with material modes of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world." So Krishna is answering now. He's saying, what is the root cause? Arjuna asked why sin is being performed. He says it is because of lust. Kama esha, krodha esha, rajoguna samudbhava. He's saying this kama, this lust. And why is this lust? Where did this come from? Rajoguna samudbhava and krodha also. Lust is leading to anger. What is this lust? This lust we will discuss today. And Krishna is saying how to conquer this. And Krishna further speaks about this lust. This lust is something we have to solve. If you have to solve all the problems of this world, if you have to solve all the problems of our own life also, this one thing we should solve, lust. So what is this lust? So Krishna will speak further. We'll read quickly a few more things what Krishna is saying about this lust. And then he's saying, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So all the problems of this world today we are facing, there is one root cause. That root cause is this lust. And Krishna is giving further characteristics about this lust. He's saying, as fire is covered by smoke, as mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, similarly the living entity is covered by different degrees of this lust. So all of us, we are all living entities. And unfortunately in this material world, we are all covered by lust by different degrees. And how is it? How is the different degrees? Sometimes it's a very thick covering. Sometimes it's a thin covering. Right? Like the smoke, fire being covered by smoke. The fire is still visible, right? But there is smoke, so there is some covering. The fire is not clearly visible. So, and then there is another example of mirror being covered by the dust, right? It can be cleared. But then the embryo covered by the womb, it's a very strong covering. The womb, the embryo is not visible, right? So in this way, we're all covered by different degrees of lust. And then Krishna is saying, thus the man's pure consciousness is covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust. So this lust is an individual person's eternal enemy. It's an enemy, right? And which is never satisfied and burns like fire. Now this is another key thing. Why these problems in the world are not being solved? It is never satisfied. This lust is never satisfied. Prabhupada gives a very nice example, like here it says, if you're trying to satisfy your lusty desires, right? People have this lust for so many things. In general, it is a very strong, what is lust? It's a very strong desire for satisfying one's own senses or the mind or intelligence, right? People are very greedy. They want to accumulate more and more. Just satisfying either the mind or senses, it will never satisfy them. A greedy person, who wants to eat a lot, he will eat more and more and more. It will not lead him to any satisfaction. He will become diseased. Again, next day, again he will eat. Why is he eating? Why is he not getting satisfied? Because the nature of satisfying lust is like putting fuel in fire. Can we ever extinguish a fire by adding more fuel? Right? Let's say there is a fuel. Oh, I have some tank of petrol. Let's put on it and extinguish it. What happens? It will only increase, isn't it? This is what is the problem. People are thinking, it's like that skin disease. Sometimes there is an itching. If you scratch, there is some level of satisfaction. But what happens? The doctors say, please don't scratch. Why? What happens when we scratch? Because of the nails and everything, that whatever bacteria, and it will only spread more. and it will cause even further itching. So the itching will only increase, the area of itching will increase. Now if you say, okay, that's okay, I will scratch more, I will scratch more part of the body, you will end up scratching your whole body, the itch will never go. So this satisfying this lust is also like that. You're only putting more and more fuel in the flame. So adding fuel is not the way to satisfy lust, right? So that is why Krishna is saying it is never satisfied which burns like fire. And further he says, now where is this lust? The senses, the mind and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Now here is another clue. Where is the lust? It is not just in one place. It is there in the senses, in the mind and the intelligence. And then, what does it do? Which veils the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. So everyone is baffled in this world because this lust has covered them. And further he says, now Krishna is coming to a conclusion to Arjuna. He is saying, therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. Now Krishna is saying, so that is why you are asking me why people are committing sinful activities. Not only people, it is an enemy of the whole world, and it is lust. And what is this lust? Where is this lust? It is in the senses, in the mind and the intelligence. And he's saying now you have to somehow slay this, right? He's using military language, like a Kshatriya will understand, right? You find the enemy, you have to attack him, and you have to kill the enemy, or else the enemy will cause more and more trouble. So Krishna is saying you have to kill the lust. Now, this lust is there everywhere. It's there in the senses, it's there in the mind, it's there in the intelligence. Now, how do you go about conquering this lust? Krishna is here in this text 42, we are seeing here, he is giving a very hierarchical explanation of how this, the senses, mind and intelligence are all organized so that we can go about tackling an enemy, right? If there is an enemy, a warrior, he has to make a plan, right? Where are they coming from? What is the weak point? What is the sequence? Like recently, there was a war and all that. So if there is a bridge, they'll break the bridge so that the enemy vehicles, armored vehicles, they can't come. So you have to strategically solve a problem. So what is the strategy? Krishna is revealing how, now that the lust is there everywhere, how do you go about solving it? So he's telling the sequence of hierarchy of what is superior to what. So he's saying, Indrani Paranyahur. So about the senses. The senses, the working senses are superior to dull matter. And then he says, Manasastu Parabuddhi. So actually there is, before that he's saying the mind is higher than the senses. So there are the senses. So this body, when we say we, I, what is it? We have the senses, the mind and the intelligence. There are so many things. Generally people say, oh, I am this, I am that. But when you analyze this I, the Vedic literature have given a very nice description of how our individual self, every individual being is constituted of, right? So there is the external covering, which is the senses, and then there is a subtle covering, the soul, which is the Atma in the body. There is a subtle covering which is composed of mind, intelligence and ego. Now there is a hierarchy. So it is, Krishna is saying that the senses are superior to dull matter, the sense objects. And now the superior than the senses is the mind. And superior than the mind is the intelligence. And superior than the intelligence is the soul. And then Krishna is saying, now that you have understood this sequence, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence. So what is that oneself? That is that soul, the Atma. Right? In the last verse, Krishna is saying, knowing that you, the individual soul, is superior to all of this, what you should do? One should control the lower self by the higher self. And thus, by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. So now Krishna has told what is the problem of causing sin. It is lust. Where is lust? It is in the mind, senses, and intelligence. And how can you conquer this? As a soul, you are different from all these things. We, the spirit soul, the Atma, is actually different than our body. It is like a machine. This body is a machine. We are in the body. In the same way, mind is a faculty. We have, mind doesn't mean we are the mind. It is our mind. So also in my mind is disturbed, we say, right? We don't say I am disturbed if you analyze. Or my intelligence is bewildered or baffled. You're not able to understand. So everything, it actually temporarily belongs to us. My body, my mind, and my intelligence, this is all my. But what am that I am that soul. I still have some ability. And what is that ability? The real hierarchy is The soul can actually control the intelligence can control the mind, and the mind can control the senses. So a very nice analogy is given to explain this whole situation is an example of a chariot. Now in a chariot, let's say there are horses, 5 horses, a chariot with 5 horses. So it is said the senses are like the horses. And then in a chariot, when you say chariot, there is a chariot driver also, and there is a passenger. Now, the driver, how is he holding the senses? There are these ropes, the reins, which is controlling the horses, right? So it is said those reins, those ropes are actually, that is like the mind. So the 5 horses, if you take an example, they are like the 5 senses. The ropes, the rein is the mind. And the driver, one who actually holds all the horses using those ropes, he is like the intelligence. And then the passenger, he is like the soul. So that is our situation. We are all like this. We are all in a chariot. We can apply this analogy to all of us. So our senses are like the horses. Our mind is like those ropes. And our intelligence is like the driver. And we as a soul, as a passenger, right, we have the faculty, we have the ability to control the whole situation, the whole chariot. All we need to do is give the right instruction to the driver. Right? And then if the driver is driving in the right way, the whole chariot goes in the right direction. So that's what Krishna is saying. But knowing that you are superior to all of this, you have to take control of the situation. If you don't take control of the situation, let's say a passenger is sitting in the vehicle and he's not giving any direction. He's just left it. Now whatever is strong at that particular point of time, it will act. Let's say all the horses, they become very strong. One horse wants to go and eat, and it becomes it's a lot of its strength, and the driver is not controlling. What happens to the chariot? One horse goes one way, all the other horses also will go, because one horse is forceful, right? And the chariot will go in that direction. And sometimes if all the horses are becoming strong, they all want to go in their own direction. What will happen to the chariot? It will just topple. Or if the horses are in control, and the driver, he doesn't know where to go. And he will go wherever he wants. There is no guarantee the passenger will reach the right destination. So it is very important to get a control of the whole situation. Now back to this thing about lust. What is the definition of lust? Actually in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a very nice definition of lust. And how did this lust come into existence? In the previous verse, actually, Prabhupada explains in the purport, this lust, where did this come from actually? Why is this lust even there? It has become the enemy of the whole world, causing all problems for our own self and the whole world. Where did this actually come? Prabhupada explains it is the transformation of love. So originally, there is only love. And when there is love, there is no problems, there is no sin, there is nothing. There is actually a very pleasing existence. But when the love is transformed to lust, just like Prabhupada gives an example like milk. If you have milk and you add something sour like tamarind or something, it will get broken and it will get curdled. It will become into like a curd. So this transformation of love is lust. Now, if you have yogurt, you can't make it back again into milk, right? It's over. It's a one-way reaction. You can't turn it. But luckily, lust can be transformed back into love again. And that is why Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita. Lust has conquered all of us, and he's giving the formula how you can transform it back into love. So this lust is nothing but transformation of love. Then what is the difference? It got transformed. What is the difference? What is the definition of each of this? We little bit talked about. So I'll read what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. He says, Atmendriya priti vancha tare bali kama. Krishnendriya priti icha dare prema nama. So these are the definitions of kama, which is lust, and prema, which is love. What is the definition of lust? Atmendriya priti vancha. Atmendriya means to gratify one's own senses. Means trying to satisfy one's own senses, one's own situation. Trying to satisfy one's own senses, one's own mind, one's own intelligence, that is known as lust. And what is prema? The definition of prema is Krishnendriya priti icha dare prema nama. And trying to, the desire to satisfy Krishna's senses, that is love. See, this is the definition. The desire to satisfy one's own mind, body, senses is lust. The desire to satisfy Krishna's senses is love. So this is what is the difference. Now when there is love, there is no problem. Now let's analyze, trying to satisfy one's own senses, mind and body, what is happening. The situation there is one is trying to, this love and lust exist because one wants to be happy actually, right? Why is anybody trying to satisfy senses? They want a pleasurable experience, right? Trying to satisfy senses, let's say eyes, what do they want? They want to see something beautiful. The nose wants to smell something, which has a good fragrance. The tongue wants to taste something, which has a good taste. Ears want to listen to some good music, something good. The skin wants to touch something. Why is it that we go behind trying to satisfy any of these senses? Because it gives a good experience, right? There is some kind of pleasure. There is some kind of a feeling, a good feel-good factor. And the nature of the soul is anandamayo bhyasat. The soul wants to be happy. And we in this situation, we're thinking, okay, I anyway want to be happy. Let me do one of these things and let me get some happiness. So we are trying at a gross level, we are trying to satisfy the senses. So this is the root, anandamayo bhyasa. The nature of the soul is to be happy and we are looking for happiness. But what's happening, is it giving us happiness? It is giving a very short-lived happiness. After that, it is going away. So after you've eaten, you're full, now you're again bored. Where is happiness? Then, okay, I'll watch a movie or something. You'll watch 1, 2, and then you're tired, you're getting headache. Then I'll lie down. There is no satisfaction. All these activities of satisfying senses is like putting fuel in the flame. It is only increasing. There is no satisfaction. One is not attaining that satisfaction at all. But people don't know what else to do. They think this is the only way to become happy and they're trying more and more. They're trying to satisfy the senses. Then sometimes they go one level higher. It is not the senses. The mind is higher than the senses. Let me try to satisfy my mind. And how is mind satisfied? By name, fame, relationships, good honor, respect. So they work hard to earn some money, to become famous, to build some relationships, to get some, position, some designation in the society, and people start seeing. And sometimes they will even compromise satisfying the senses for satisfying the mind. They will work hard, right? They will not eat, they will not drink, they will not go and party with friends or whatever, because I get a promotion, I'll get a better salary, I'll get better money, I'll be able to get that higher position. I would like to be known as whatever, director, vice president. There is that thing. What is all that? It is nothing but trying to satisfy the mind. Now they have gone one step beyond the senses, right? They say, somebody can come and say, look at him, he's eating nicely, isn't he enjoying why you want this position? No, what is there in that? He doesn't get much respect. See, if I get this position, I will be known in the society. I would have made a name, I would have made a mark, right? So people go to that level. So from the senses, they go to the mind. Now, does that give them happiness? Unfortunately, that also doesn't give them happiness. All these, people with good designations and everything, actually they're under more pressure. They have to work more to maintain their position, and there is no end. There is always somebody superior to them. They fall in the trap of trying to satisfy the mind, and they have to go more higher and higher. They're struggling harder and harder. Where is happiness? There is no happiness, very short-lived happiness. And then above that is the trying to satisfy the intelligence, trying to inquire, understand, gain some knowledge, go more and more. But none of this is satisfying. Why? Because the real happiness is not attained by lust at all. The real happiness is attained by love. And that love is not the love that we know here in this material world. The so-called love that we know in the material world is also actually lust. What is lust? If my senses are satisfied, I am happy. If not, I am not, right? So now in these loving relationships, we see so many situations where people, boys and girls, they get together, they date for a long time, and sometimes nowadays live in relationships and all that. After so many years, they know each other, they'll get married, and suddenly divorce will happen. Why? Why is it so? Why are they splitting? That is supposed to be love, right? Love is supposed to be, giving them good happiness. The problem is, under the name of love, that is also lust. Why? The moment my senses or my mind is not satisfied by your activities, I don't want you anymore. So how is that love? It is also lust, isn't it? The focus is my satisfaction. If I am not satisfied, I don't want to be with you. If I am not satisfied, I don't want to deal with you. So unfortunately, that is also lust. Under the name of love, it is lust. That is why it is breaking. Real love should not break. Real love never breaks. Actually, the only example of real love in this material world, Prabhupada says, a glimpse of real love is only found in the mother's love for the child. Unconditional, right? The mother doesn't see that even if the child, sometimes there is food, not enough food for the mother also, still if the child eats, the mother feels happy. See, this is a real love. That means even though my senses are not satisfied, even though I am not, you know, on my own, I am not satisfied, but just because my child has eaten, I feel good about it, right? This feel good factor is higher, stronger. One can ask, oh, aren't you starving? How come you're still happy? No, my child got to eat. That is fine. I'll eat some other time, right? So only in this mother's love for the children is where a real true glimpse of love is known. And the real love is actually where every individual being is in a similar situation where they're serving Krishna. Just like the mother is, by satisfying the child senses, the mother is happy. In the same way, every individual living being, our real relationship is with Krishna. And Krishnendriya Preeti Icha Dare Prema Nama. When we serve Krishna and we get that satisfaction, that is when we actually become truly happy. And people might think, well, serving Krishna, how will I be happy? Right? Just like then, how is mother happy when the child is served? Because the relationship is so strong. So we have all forgotten our relationship with Krishna. If we revive our relationship with Krishna, we will realize that actually by serving Krishna, we are becoming happy. And that is what the Vedic scriptures and all the great saintly people and acharyas are coming and telling us, that you have forgotten your real relationship and you're trying to experience love and you're trying to experience happiness, but you're doing it all wrong. An example is giving like the finger, in the body. If the finger wants to be happy, the fingers are becoming weak, let's say, and it sees some good food and it's nutritious food. It has all the vitamins, minerals, nutrients and everything. And if the finger wants to eat on its own, right, it just smushes it. What can the finger do? Okay, I'll put my fingers in this nutritious food full of good calories and vitamins and minerals. And if it just puts in it and just, the fingers are in the food, will the fingers become nutritious? Will the fingers become strengthened and, fit? No, right? They'll become weak. What should the fingers do? The finger should take the food and put it in the mouth and let it go into the stomach. And then it will be nourished. Why is it? The fingers are separate and mouth is separate, right? Why is it that by putting in the mouth, the fingers are becoming energetic? Because they're connected. The finger is deep down, is connected to the body. Through the stomach, there is a connection. In the same way, all of us, we are all like that. Fingers are separated parts. We have our original connection with Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mamaiva amsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. Mamaiva amsha. We are amsha of Krishna. We have that connection to Krishna. Just like the finger, it forgets its connection to the stomach and the mouth, and it's trying to independently enjoy, it will never be happy. The moment it realizes that, oh, I have a connection to this body, and actually if I feed the source in the stomach, then I will get my strength. That is when the finger can actually become nourished. So this is what we need to know, that we have our intimate connection with Krishna. We are spirit souls, as Krishna said, Mamai Vamsha. We have a connection with Krishna, and when that connection, just like the root and the leaf of a tree, right? When you pour the water at the root of the tree, that is when the leaf will be nourished. You can take a particular leaf and put a ladder, go up to that leaf and spray water on it, put everything on it. It will not become, it will only dry up more and more. So this is what is the real knowledge, real intelligence. And using this knowledge, applying this knowledge that the soul is actually connected to Krishna, and if we work towards, if we apply this foundational knowledge, then the intelligence, the mind and the senses, everything can come under control. And with the strength of the spiritual strength, everything, we can actually attain ultimate success also. So then how do we strengthen, like in the last verse, as Krishna said here, knowing oneself transcendental to material senses, mind and intelligence, one should control the lower self. So how do we control this lower self? Like the passenger has no strength. He is not having any ability to tell anything to the driver. The driver is driving whichever direction he wants. The horses are going anyway. How does he do that? He needs to enlighten the driver, give him the right direction. So as Prabhupada said in the purport, by understanding our relationship with Krishna, that my real relationship is with Krishna. I am actually part and parcel of Krishna. My real nourishment is when I actually serve Krishna. When I serve Krishna is when I actually I'll really become happy. So it is said, when we do that, ahaituki apratihata ye atmasu prasidati. It says, savai pumsam paro dharma yato bhakti adokshaje. So this is the actual duty of all savai pumsam, all the human society. Yato bhakti adokshaje. One, when they cultivate devotion to adokshaja, to the Supreme Lord, what happens at that time? Ahituki apratihata. Ahituki and apratihata means it is unconditional and it is unbreakable. It can be continuous. Ye atma su prasidati. Then atma will become prasidati, su prasidati. It becomes prasanna. It becomes very happy. It becomes very pleased. We are all looking for that happiness, but in a roundabout way. Everyone trying to satisfy their own senses and mind. It is like that fingers trying to eat the food for themselves. We will never be happy. That is why the saintly people who have become devotees of the Lord, you can see Swami Prabhupada or great acharyas, they don't have any material possessions, but they're very happy, they're very blissful. They're in extreme bliss. How? Because they have established their connection to Krishna. So this is what we also should do. We should engage our intelligence, our mind, and our senses in Krishna consciousness. What does that mean in Krishna consciousness? Means to revive, rebuild our relationship with Krishna. We have forgotten. Just like the fingers, they're told, oh, you have to put food in the mouth. Then its business is to figure out, okay, where is the mouth? Let me go all the way there and put the food there. So this is what we should do. Our relationship with Krishna, now our business is to, okay, find out how do I build my relationship with Krishna. And when we do that, that is when we actually become nourished. That is when we'll become happy. And so how do we engage the intelligence? The business of intelligence. Intelligence is driven by knowledge. Right? What is the definition of a very intelligent person? That means he has a lot of knowledge. Right? Can somebody have a lot of intelligence without any knowledge? If he has not read any book, anything, doesn't heard anything. Intelligence is nothing but the sign of the amount of knowledge a person has. Right? So how do we control our intelligence? How do we get rid of the lust? That is hiding or that has captured the intelligence, is by cultivating knowledge about Krishna. By reading about Bhagavad Gita, reading Bhagavatam, reading about Krishna, understanding our purpose of life, understanding the purpose of creation. What is Krishna trying to say in Bhagavad Gita? When we understand all this, our intelligence becomes purified. Lust will go away. Lust is like darkness, Prabhupada says, and Krishna is like light. The moment Krishna enters into your intelligence, lust is gone. Don't have to worry about it. So that is how we can get rid of the enemy. One spot we can take care. Cultivate knowledge of Krishna, understand Krishna, utilize your intelligence in Krishna, lust is gone. Now lust is still in the mind. How do we take care of that? The business of the mind is always thinking. Hundreds, millions of thoughts, it will keep coming. Right? You sit somewhere, even hours and hours you can go on. You'll keep thinking. So Prabhupada said the way to conquer lust in your mind, in your thoughts, is to think about Krishna. Think about Krishna. How do we think about Krishna? Well, intelligence has to help, just like the driver has to hold. So when you acquire a lot of knowledge about Krishna, you can start thinking about Krishna. So this is how the mind, the lust will go away, once you start thinking about Krishna. If you are generating thoughts, thinking about Krishna, how Krishna created, how Krishna is there everywhere, understanding various incarnations, pastimes of the Lord, you can conquer the lust in your mind also. So that is taken care. Now the senses, enemy has been tackled in two places, intelligence and mind. Right? Now the senses are remaining. How do we get rid of lust? Enemy has to be removed from the senses also. That also, Krishna is the solution. That is also why, because lust is like darkness and Krishna is like light. Only when you bring Krishna is when light comes, darkness goes away. So now how lust can go away from the senses? Very simple. Engage the senses in Krishna's service. The business of senses, again now let's go back. What are the senses doing? Eyes are always seeing. Okay, come and see the beautiful form of Krishna Balaram. Automatically lust is gone. At your home also, you sign up for Krishna Balaram Mandir updates or another temple. You will get daily darshan photos, things like that. You see, you have a nice picture of Krishna Balaram. We have the 2023 calendar. Put it on your wall every day. Pay respect to the deities. Instead of putting big paintings of so many other things, put a nice picture of Krishna and Radharani and the Gopas and Gopis. Always look at nice pictures of Krishna. The senses, the eye is covered, right? On your phone, you can keep a wallpaper, Krishna. On your desktop, you can keep. It's only, you just have to spend little time. You will find millions of ways where you can always see nice, beautiful forms of Krishna. Now the smell, how do you conquer the lust in the sense of the smell? Any ideas? Sight, eyes, we know we'll put nice picture of Krishna. How about the eye, how about the sense of smell? Yes, smell the flowers offered to the Lord. Even the agarbatti that we offer to the Lord, you smell. So like that in your home, every day if you're offering nice flowers, you have nice agarbatti, the smell will be going on. Right? We used to offer agarbatti at home. Once some visitor came, he said, oh, I feel like I walked into a temple because the agarbatti smell is going on, right? So it's like that, it'll help you. And then the sense of taste, that we don't have to worry about. It's very easy. Eat Krishna Prasadam. Whatever you prepare, offer to the Lord, it becomes prasadam. It has been touched by Krishna. So where is the question of lust? The moment it's touched by Krishna, there is empowered by Krishna's potency. You put it in your mouth, then the lust in the mouth will go away. It won't ask you anymore, let's go to that restaurant, at 200 miles away from here, something special, let me go and eat there. Why? I'm eating nice Krishna Prasadam. That it will go away, it will be eradicated. This lust will drag us everywhere, right? In the same way, all other senses. How about hearing? Our sense of hearing, lust is there also because it's in the senses. How do we get rid of lust? Through the sense of hearing. Nicely, yes, hear Hare Krishna mantra. Listen to nice kirtans, listen to nice bhajans. We all like music and everything. Yes, listen. Now so many devotees have, created so many albums with all beautiful musical instruments and everything. Right? Listen kirtans. In this way, we can engage all our senses, our intelligence, our mind, and our thoughts, everything in Krishna. And what happens? Lust is eradicated. When lust is eradicated, there is no more sinful life. And if there is no more sinful life, there is no reason for us to take birth in this material world anymore. Because the reason of our existence in the material world, it is like a prison for the mistakes we have done to learn, to correct ourselves. So when there is no more sin, there is no more need for you to take birth here, because the moment you take birth, you have to go through old age, you have to go through disease, you have to go through so many miseries. All this will go away. So that is the ultimate success of life. When lust has been completely eradicated, and what happens if it is completely eradicated? That means it has been completely transformed into love of Krishna. And when there is love of Krishna, you don't belong here anymore. You will go back to Krishna Loka, you will go back to Vaikunta, you will go back to Goloka. Like we have this Vaikunta Dwara we have set up. Lord Narayana is opening the Vaikunta Dwara and welcoming all the devotees. Come back to me. But unfortunately, we, because of lust, we are saying, no, I want to go behind money, I want to go behind fame, name, this, that, all that. Krishna is saying, why are you going behind all that? Come back to me. You want to be happy, this is where real happiness is. Revive your loving relationship with me. And how is it in relationship with Krishna? We all know these pastimes of Krishna in Golok Vrindavan, the Gopas, the Gopis. Everyone is enjoying very nice time with Krishna. Right? This is what we are originally, entitled to spend very beautiful, blissful time with Krishna, rather than working hard day in and night, filling timesheets, doing homework, doing assignments, filing taxes. We don't have to deal with all this. We can have very, very nicely, we can live in the spiritual world. Right? So I'll stop here, and we will request the devotees to hand over the beads. We can all chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And this chanting Hare Krishna mantra is also a very wonderful way to connect to Krishna, to eradicate lust. Thank you. When we chant Hare Krishna, actually the maximum number of senses get engaged with Krishna. Our sense of touch, because we are holding the beads. Our sense of speaking, because we are chanting Krishna's mantra. Our sense of hearing, we are hearing Krishna. So that is why this chanting is very powerful. It will eradicate lust at multiple levels. Right? So we'll all chant together. So please repeat the Guru Pranam mantra and Panchatattva mantra. After that, we'll all chant the Hare Krishna mantra together. Please repeat. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So let's all chant together, and remember to focus on the mantra. We have to hear the mantra. If you don't hear, then the sense of hearing won't get purified. Okay? So we should all chant clearly and also hear carefully. So we'll chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare